Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Depending where you are joining us from, we still have few people logging in, so we're to give them a minute or two to get settled, then we'll get underway. All right? Just want to inform everyone that we are currently live in our YouTube channel and our Facebook page of the Daily Guardian. So please do share and subscribe and follow our social media accounts for today's episode. We'll start in a few minutes. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Good afternoon, IBC members and friends. I am Red Heshanova, the Business Development Officer of IntelliCare, and I am your moderator this afternoon for the sixth session of Iloilo Business Online, our business conversation with key leaders in the country about the pressing issues in the industry amid the pandemic. Today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after this event is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues. After understanding the advantages of creating virtual stores from our last IBO episode and how digital solutions can be helped fast track creation of new normal for MSMEs digital business operations. This afternoon, we will tackle the topic on redefining business value chains from the perspective of another giant industry who has witnessed firsthand the transition of business during the pandemic. We will also explore opportunities in partnering with Ilonggo startups for the improvement and promotion of local businesses. To start our session this afternoon, may we call on the chairman of Iloilo Business Club, Mr. Juan Hamora III, for his welcome remarks. Sir Manchi.
to another episode of Iloilo Business Online. At the outset, we would like to acknowledge and thank the Daily Guardian for our continued partnership in this project to bring you the latest business conversation with industry leaders and experts. We end the month of November with the last feature on virtual business operations and digital solutions with topics on MSME value chain and an introduction to startups in Iloilo. Iloilo Business Club advocates for supporting local MSMEs that are discovering out-of-the-box solutions to current challenges, and with the digital transformation of local business operations, there is a fresh and renewed interest to discover new products and services. We sincerely thank our speakers and experts today from Grab Philippines and Slash Ignite Inc. for taking time to be with us. We look forward to your insights about how the pandemic is affecting modern MSMEs and how the economy can transition to virtual operations based on your business models. We also thank Fred Isanova for IntelliCare Inc., who is a member of the Lilo Business Club, for moderating our session this afternoon. We look forward to a more active participation from our members. Thank you very much, and let us all continue to follow health protocols to keep Iloilo safe from COVID-19. Thank you and good afternoon.
Madamo nga salamat, Sir Hamara, Sir Menchi. We will now have the presentation of our first speaker. But please take note that you can type in all your questions in the chat box here found in our Zoom link or Zoom chat box and in the comment section of our live coverage in the Daily Guardian Facebook page and YouTube. So let me introduce our first speaker for this afternoon. Our first speaker is a graduate of De La Salle University, Manila, with concentration in entrepreneurship and business management, and he obtained his MBA from the Asian Institute of Management, which is one of the best management school in the country. He has a strong track record in growth marketing, product development, finance, and business operations, gained from holding key positions previously in Globe Telecom and Procter and Gamble Philippines. He is currently the country marketing head of Grab Philippines, which where he leads the growth and the brand marketing of different services of Grab in the Philippines. He is also champions Grab's social impact agenda, Grab for Food, which is I personally believe that is really good initiative, where he leads programs and initiatives to ensure that Grab's tech leadership in the Philippines helps empower its communities and improves millions of lives. Friends, please welcome Mr. Ralph Joseph RJ Cabaluna. Sir RJ,
Hi, good afternoon.
good afternoon, sir.
So, mayong hapon sa inyo tananda. So, actually, Red, I'm also Ilonggo.
Okay.
Thank you for the very good introduction. So, first of all, damo gid na pasalamat na nahagad nyo kami diri, kami ni Grab to be in this session para makashare man kami to you on our own insights kung paano man makabulig ang both technology and digitalization to help our communities to both recover at the same time being safe. So
Yes.
again, I'm RJ Cabaluna, also a fellow Ilonggo, also the country marketing head for Gab Philippines, no? And balik lang tayo na Jutay na in a matter of weeks, wala lang gid nagdugay after nag-strike ang pandemic sa aton. Kadamo gid naglain. Kadamo sa aton na pilitan magtinir sa balay. Kadamo sa aton nag social distancing na. Kadamo sa aton apektado gid mga negosyo. And kadamo sa aton ara lang sa balay to protect one another, especially our loved ones. No? Sorry, Red, can you see the presentation?
Yes, it's
Okay,
very
okay.
clear, sir.
Okay, thank you. And the Philippines, undeniable gud yan na the pandemic has come at a very high price for everyone, no? Kadamo gid sa negosyo na nira, in unemployment rising across different industries, from restaurants to malls to small and medium businesses like the ones that we have here today, no? And it has forced our economy to go into a bad recession, uh, and not just in the Philippines but across Southeast Asia. And these are really tough times. But what we know for sure is collectively, kung kita tanan matrabaho together, and through technology, it's going to be smoother for us to bounce back and recover. Um, I'll just go through first some trends na nakita naton during this pandemic. The first one is actually how it has changed consumer behavior. Kadamo sa ato na maskin wala na lockdown na biyang syudad, uh, cautious pa tagyapon, iban sa aton gusto gyapon magtinira sa balay, safety and comfort gid na yan of our own homes eh. Pero may ara gid ya sa aton man na even though naka-lockdown, kinahanglan gid ya magwa gyapon. We need to perform kumbaga ang essential economic activities naton, but we are still required to be safe, hygienic, and we also need that reliable form of moving around or transportation or moving different things across cities. And safety and hygiene continue to be a very important consideration in how we move about, diba? The second one is actually a good trend on reliance naton to digital channels of parang do digital channels naton to how we consume different businesses and services today, no? So ang una abi manual kita malakat kita sa restaurant or sa ano subong kadamo sa aton especially sa lockdown matinir na lang sa balay. Sa una makadto pa ta sa mga courier services naton, subong tinir man tagapon sa balay. So kataas ang reliance naton subong on digital channels to fulfill these, di ba? In particular, no, platforms such as Grab actually play a very significant role in providing pa livelihood across many Filipinos. So, and like I said kagina na kadamo gid affected by the pandemic and the lockdowns, we need to help look for alternative sources of income for different people. And tech platforms such as ours actually help support that. Na how we get to help support solve for rising unemployment, while providing meaningful livelihood opportunities. The next one is about a move to do it yourself. Okay, diba, with social distancing, it has actually encouraged both consumers and businesses to do things for themselves, actually through self-service platforms and solutions. And then lastly is the continuous search for value. As we are experiencing an economic recession, many of our kababayans and mga fellow Filipinos, no, are looking for the most value out of services and offerings to maximize every hard-earned peso that we have. Given that value for money will always be top of mind for any kind of consumer spend. And in touch now with what I said earlier about hygiene and safety being top of mind, we've launched a couple of months ago, Grab Protect. So this is a Grab-wide initiative, safety being a key foundation of what we do in Grab. So through our tech, actually, we have set out a bunch of features and solutions across the entire platform, aimed at enforcing higher safety, better hygiene standards for public transportation and food delivery throughout the entire country and, of course, the region. In fact, within the Grab platform, we have also introduced online health and hygiene checks for our driver and delivery partners, uh, automated ratings and feedbacks for both driver and rider partners and customers even, of course, to ensure na everybody is abiding with the public health policy of the government. And actually, through Grab Protect, we have also enabled online driver safety training. Uh, para naman sa ano siya para sa for everyone to have a better understanding, a better and full understanding of safety and hygiene protocols needed for everyone to be able to serve the community together. We have at Grab have also partnered with the National Task Force Against COVID and BCDA to provide free swab tests. So RT-PCR swab tests for our driver and delivery partners across para ma-ensure naman na safe and healthy while providing essential services to any kind of consumer that we have. And then finally on Grab Protect, we were able to build this good confidence that every Grab service, every Grab order that anyone takes, may it be deliveries, transportation, all of it are safe and hygienic, helping raise the bar for safety while improving livelihoods and being able to serve everyone better and easier. Uh, for merchants, actually for small businesses and merchants, no, um, we have facilitated an online storefront through GrabPay and even launched our own do-it-yourself platform called Grab Merchant. So ano siya? Um, we continue to help out our MSMEs grow their own revenues despite the lockdowns and the pandemic. So we have created a bunch of online and offline to online a Grab Pay program to help businesses set up their own online storefronts. Actually, it can be done through the landing page of grab.com. So now, offline businesses, pwede na gid mag-connect sa Grab store builder para partners can just set up their own online store. Integrated na siya sa GrabPay checkout natin. Grab Merchant naman, actually it's our all-in-one self-serve merchant platform. It makes it easier for all sorts of MSMEs to be on the platform. Uh, and then there, makita nyo man siya na it will include um, statistics on your own day-to-day operations. It will help give you growth tools for especially for micro businesses, even a small portal for SMEs and larger chains to have a wide 360 view across different store networks if you have multiple branches, uh, to make that better business decision to drive growth for yourself. Uh, the third one, homegrown heroes, actually since the COVID-19 pandemic has struck, uh, we were continuing to find ways to help push businesses to be online. And then what we did was actually, so Homegrown Heroes here is an initiative that we had where we actually Grab created personalized ads for over 1,000 small and medium businesses on Grab Food and Grab Express na partners naman. While featuring them on the Grab app, giving them the big kind of prominent spaces within the app, uh, giving them the right kind of push they need to go online. And then finally, a personal favorite of mine is the Social Seller Club. So we've seen a lot of sellers going online and then selling stuff through there, may it be food or different sorts of items. And then we actually launched Madiscarteng Boss Club earlier this year. And it's a community it's a community of hardworking social sellers in nationwide in the Philippines. Uh, and in this community, we help them grow by providing them with necessary tech tools, training, solutions to help them grow their businesses in this very digital first economy that we are in right now. Uh, then we also leverage our platform to provide livelihood opportunities. Again, with how much the pandemic has impacted everyone in the country, uh, we ourselves have seen how much we would be able to support different parts of the communities of the different parts of the country through the platform. So we ourselves have conducted different virtual town halls, community check-ins with our driver and rider partners, helping them also move about to from, let's say, grab car transportation was suspended. We've moved them about from a driver partner to be a delivery partner, and we as a platform celebrate and appreciate all of the efforts of all of the gig economy players. Well, and in fact, no, sa this coming November 29, we invite you all uh, to an event called, to a campaign that we're doing called Araw ng Tagapaghatid. So this is in celebrating all delivery partners, all rider partners, all driver partners, not just from Grab, but from everyone, as a way for us, for our communities to celebrate these partners as they have helped us, all of the consumers during the pandemic, and our own businesses to grow. And all of these efforts, of course, we have continued to work closely with the Department of Labor and Employment and various LGUs, including Mayor Treñas of Iloilo, no, to onboard as many kababayans that we can. May it be, again, for driver and rider partners or merchants on the platform. Last but not the least, of course, is some new services that we've created, especially that's more parang aligned to the pandemic. So, within actually days from the lockdown, nag-start siya, especially in Metro Manila. And we've also were able to launch it across different cities, including Iloilo. We introduced this new service called Grab Express Pabili to help buy daily necessities such as medicine, essentials, especially catering to those who are unable to leave their homes. So these are the PWDs, the senior citizens, and mostly also because of the pandemic and the lockdowns before, no, where it discouraged actually going out of the house. And then in a time na during the pandemic, I'm sure mga laba pila sa mga groceries naton, just to get our own essentials. Uh, we've made it even easier, even easier and convenient for Filipinos with our launch of GrabMart. So, yun na naman siya, this time, users and consumers like you and I can simply shop for groceries and essentials through the Grab app without leaving. So you can shop for food, you can shop for tissue paper, water, whatever it is, it would be on the GrabMart service on the Grab app. Also, we've made cashless payments even more convenient and secure for everyone staying at home. Uh, Users such as you and I, again, can now use it to pay for our bills, send money through loved ones, pay for food, delivery, and even your Grab car movement, all through just your phone. So no need to go out and so on. So, amo man lang gid na siya. And while we are on this road to recovery, no, I myself am very confident that if we all work together, we can build a very strong and more resilient economy. Uh, May it be from a driver rider partner to a merchant such as yourself to MSMEs. And it starts with every one of us to be fully embracing technology technology, digitalization, and how we get to unlock all of those opportunities. No, so to our entrepreneurs, let us not lose sight of the task ahead of us, and that is to use technology, expertise, and resources to deliver positive socio-economic impact together, especially during these trying times. Um, Tama pag ito, Brown eh. But confidently ko na by working together as one strong tech-enabled community, we can overcome any challenge and we come out of this stronger. Uh, so, nadamo agad na salamat. And thank you again sa pagbilib nyo kay Grab. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sir RJ. Ako personally, I'm personally shocked or surprised at the same time nga from a simple before amo lang ni ato negosyo, then during this pandemic ang pagka-creative sa mga Pinoy gaginuwa. So from a simple, for example, for Grab, from a grab car lang sang una, tapos nag-grow to a lot of, as you mentioned earlier, kadamo na sa mga businesses or shall I say services that you can offer personally to our Grab. Sir, I have a questions lang. How many users or Grab users we have right now in the Philippines?
We have a
Estimate.
lot. We have really a lot.
Yes. Like a million plus or something
Over.
like that.
Over that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sige. Maybe we'll have entertain some questions, Pastor RJ.
Sure.
To those nga may listening to us in our Facebook page and YouTube page, you can comment down, or if we have questions, you can chat down here to our fellow people or fellow participants here in the Zoom. So meanwhile, while waiting for that, you mentioned, Sir RJ, about the Grab merchants for MSMEs. So how can what are the requirements that they can apply to or to be part of that such profile of you? May
Uh,
ara ba nga needed siya for may dapat registered or you mentioned dapat may mga online sellers, di ba, nga unfortunately hindi pa get registered. Are they can be part of it?
um, may ara kita list of requirements actually
Okay.
available already on the website. No? So these are the usual man lang na requirements like mga business permits, identification, and so on. If there are not yet any permits, granted hindi gid man tanan may ara pasubong,
Yes.
they can also try to register through Madiscarteng Boss Club,
Okay.
which would be a good entry point for them. Although highly recommended that they do get the right documents and then they go into either GrabMart or GrabFood.
Yes. So they need to visit lang the website for the list of information and requirements para they can be part of the profile of Grab. And I have a question here from Sir Terence. How do you differentiate Grab Pay with Grab Pay with GCash and PayMaya in terms of service and rates?
Okay. So I guess each kind of e-wallet player is has its own advantages. So like kung sa Grab man na siya, you can easily use it across different services na maara man kay Grab. And you can also earn Grab rewards points when you use Grab Pay on the Grab app. And then
Okay,
Grab
yes.
rewards points actually pwede na siya gamiton para you can use points to pay eh. So pwede actually libre mo
Yeah,
makuha. Ma-convert mo siya to points, and then ang balayaran mo you can convert again to points, and then wala ka na balayaran. In terms of rates, actually most of the rates are actually very preferential in terms of for GrabPay. We don't have fees for InstaPay transfers, P2P transfers. So it's also quite easy for users. all they need to do is register so KYC, which is a common thing. Know your customer.
Know your customers. Yeah.
Yes. So it's a common thing naman across different e-wallets.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question. Ako, I really wanted to know your side about this. What do you think, based on experience man siguro since the pandemic started around March, what do you think are the major challenges, mga top lang siguro, sir, of MSMEs in the areas of logistics or its value chains as the economy gradually open amidst the pandemic?
So I think the very first thing affected by it, no, is ang sa pandemic, what it actually brought about is decreased mobility.
Yes.
So dudulaan kita foot traffic kung mall man na siya or store. So that in itself, wala na may galabay sa imong store. So paano na siya? That's why ang what I've kept on saying is that actually with technology, it can help us push further without needing for physical stores and so on, no? Muna.
Yeah, dako gid actually bulig sa deliveries. Even ako personally, I have my niece have this coffee shop opened last January lang, pero unfortunately nag-close siya pag March. Pero I suggested her to open up, even cooking lang sila balay, i-deliver through Grab and all the deliveries app there is para dire-diretso gyapon.
Actually kadamo sang amo na ginahimo subong, and they
Yes.
are successful. They have successfully grown even on Grab Food and GrabMart.
Yes, that's correct. Good. Ali sir, another maybe a last question na.
Sure.
What policies or innovation do you think are necessary to improve transportation or logistics in the Philippines? Or you can probably a city ordinance that you wanted in mind, that on top of your mind that you wanted the government should have, probably.
Actually dugay naman gid namon gusto mag-expand sang Grab car services naton to different cities outside of Metro Manila. So right now Grab car is available lang in Bacolod, Pampanga, Manila, Metro Manila. So and Cebu.
Yes.
And we actually really want to help different cities also to embrace technology and move further. Kasi with mobility nga is also about progress. So actually when it comes to ordinances, I guess what we're working with regards to LTFRB, LGUs, national government units, is actually how we get to open up these lines to allow to operate TNVS, kumbaga kung sa Transport Virtual Network Systems, to operate in these cities na wala pa. Kay kasayang sa opportunity for people to move around much faster and easier. Okay, with technology, with movement, with mobility, it helps with progress.
All right. Thank you, good Sir RJ. I think that's the last question, but hopefully you can stay with us pa. Base may ara pa sila mga questions that they come up after. And thank you and congratulations in advance to your araw ng tagapaghatid on November 29. That's really good initiative, good sir. Thank you for that. Thank you so much, Sir RJ, for being with us this afternoon. Maybe you can have at least a parting message for our session attendees, at least today, this afternoon.
Yes. First of all, I guess I'd like to thank you. Thank you everyone here attending for letting us be part of this, to be able to share with you what we have learned, what we think we should do together para we all recover as one. Then I guess a parting message is, guys, please visit the Grab PH social media accounts, and then share nyo siya ang araw ng tagapaghatid naman. The video's already out.
Yes.
And as we celebrate driver and delivery partners together, especially on not just we need to celebrate and appreciate them every day, but much more on November 29.
Thank you so much, Sir RJ. Madam, maging
Thank you.
salamat.
Thank you.
See you later.
Yes, thank
We
you.
now move on to our next session speaker who will discuss about startups in Iloilo. Let me introduce our speaker. Miss Noreen Marian Bautista is the founder and chief igniter of Slash Ignite, a social innovation studio based in Iloilo City. She has been co-founding social enterprises and startups since 2010 and is certified by the Global Innovation Management Institution. She was recognized by the World Economic Forum as a global shaper and is also one of the 40 pioneer women social entrepreneurs of Ashoka and S&P Global's Women Together for a Better Normal program. Ms. Noreen is also a candidate of Masters of Science in Innovation and Business at the Asian Institute of Management. Friends, once again, our second presenter this afternoon, Ms. Noreen Marian Bautista. Ms. Noreen?
Hi, hello, mayong hapon sa tanan or mayong aga, wherever you're
Yes.
logging in from.
Mayong
Yes,
hapon.
for the introduction, Red, and salamat gid sa Iloilo Business Club. Yeah, so I hope not to keep you. I'd like to keep this really brief, but my topic for today is the Iloilo startup ecosystem. Let me try to present. Would it be all right? I should share my screen. Would it be all right if I just turn off my video for the presentation just in case I lag?
All right, no problem, Ms. Noreen.
I'm always mindful of the bandwidth that Zoom takes up. Sorry about that. All right, let me try to put this out. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Ms. Noreen, it's clear.
All right. So I wanted to show this slide because this is actually a current research I'm doing. So I'm also actually a graduate student of AIM. But I've always been a startup founder. So as was mentioned by Red, I have been based in Manila actually in since 2010, and I moved back home to Iloilo in 2015. And ever since then, I have seen amazing growth, especially when tech startups is concerned. So did the when I graduated university, I went straight first into entrepreneurship. No, so our first business was actually a social enterprise company into fashion and lifestyle and helping handicraft communities. So that's what led me to find a niche in what they call social enterprise, or the ability to use business models to create social change. Eventually, I learned that there's a bigger field called social innovation, which is also involving government, nonprofits. Basically, how do we create new processes or enterprises or projects in a new way? And this is why I created Slash Ignite. And the reason why it's called Slash Ignite, because I'm a very slash person, meaning like I'm an entrepreneur, slash student, slash teacher, everything else. And I learned that this is actually what innovation is, the ability to have multidisciplinary skills and to connect the seemingly disconnected and create insights. So as mentioned, also I'm learning now as part of the Masters of Science in Innovation and Business at the Asian Institute of Management. So this year we're also doing online classes, but it has been to my advantage because the coursework I do directly benefits our startup and innovation ecosystem here in Iloilo. I'm also certified by the Global Innovation Management Institute. So any businesses here or even NGOs in Iloilo who need help with innovation, I'm definitely open to help. So one of the research I was doing in AIM is this policy paper on the future of Philippine local innovation ecosystems. So just as a context, no, I actually presented this in NEDA last September. But just for a context, I was also part of the Innovate Iloilo Coalition. For those who don't know, Innovate Iloilo is a public-private movement aimed at making Iloilo a premier innovation hub in the Philippines by 2030. So it was launched last year. As you can see, we have our governor there, our mayor, and of course, Iloilo Business Club is here, Chamber of Commerce, and all the public-private groups. It might also be interesting to note that we also have the Philippine Innovation Act signed into law also in 2019 by our president. And this is how they defined innovation. It's the creation of new ideas that results in the development of new or improved policies, products, processes, and services. So for those interested, you can look this up, Republic Act number 11293. We also have the Startup Act, which I will also mention later on. So this is really interesting because they mentioned in the policy the purpose of an innovation ecosystem, which is really a host of organizations and institutions working to create innovation outcomes. Uh, so for those who don't know, this is the Innovate Iloilo framework. And as you can see, it's not just about startups. And that's why I wanted to start with this first. The startup ecosystem is operating as part of a bigger ecosystem, which definitely includes the business sector, but also academia, and of course, our government. So the word ecosystem, there's a quote there. It takes its origins from biology, which is a complex adaptive system where there are many interacting agents, but there are macro patterns that emerge from micro behaviors, which means we do our own thing, but in our doing of our own thing, we are moving towards a common direction, which is hopefully a more innovative Iloilo, right? So I just wanted to show this because these are the outcomes of our research where at the end of the day, Innovate Iloilo is very new. And we're here to really make sure that in 2030, we all go towards a scenario that is really equitable for us. But it all depends on our actions. We can go towards a hostile ecosystem or a business as usual ecosystem or a territorial ecosystem or something that's really transformative. Anyway, these are the players identified for the Innovate Iloilo Council or the components: government, academe, and R&D, and industry, which includes the startup ecosystem. So in terms of startups, it's very fitting because right now we're actually celebrating Philippine Startup Week, no? So this is a virtual conference, the largest conference. And you can actually go to this now at pagestartupweek.com. And I invite you to register because on Friday, Startup Iloilo has an event actually. And this is for you to also know the wider Philippine startup ecosystem, no? But as mentioned, we also have this Innovative Startup Act, also signed last year, and the law defines startup as any person or registered entity that aims to develop an innovative product, process, or business model. Now, there are also many other definitions. The tech startup folks, usually when people say startup, it's really tech startup. So, meaning it's tech enabled. There's high growth potential. So, and it solves market needs at scale. A note on the high growth potential, I guess at the end of the day, tech startups will start out as MSMEs. But like from an MSME compared to, let's say, 10,000 sales to 20,000 sales, that's an MSME typical growth. But a tech startup would be 10,000 in sales to 100,000 in sales, let's say, in a month or three or something. So there's high growth in a short number of time, mostly because of the tech-enabled solution that the company employs that allows for scalability. So that's just a little differentiation. And I think you might have heard about this talk about unicorns. It's very common in the tech startup space. So unicorns are companies that have scaled fast and have reached at least $1 billion in valuation. So you might see some familiar names there: Airbnb, Slack. Obviously, the common ones, Facebook and Google. They're no longer startups because they're already huge. But these ones are really companies that achieved $1 billion in less than a decade, and much because of the technology investments. And this graph will give you a picture of how fast really the growth is. You might not see the actual companies, but you have Airbnb there, you have Uber, Dropbox. Here in Southeast Asia, we have Gojek in Indonesia, which is Grab's, I think, counterpart there. So hopefully in the Philippines, we have our own kind of high growth, but not just like growth for its own sake. Right now, there's a conversation of yung growth dapat inclusive din and dapat may social impact gid nga do may pulos gid bala sa society, hindi lang puro kwarta, hindi lang puro profit. Right now, if you attend the Philippine Startup Week events, there are those conversations, which is very good for me to hear also. So, a brief history of Iloilo startups. So, I would encourage you again to log on to PH Startup Week. This will actually be discussed in detail in our event. That's going to be on November 27 at 3 p.m. But just to bounce off, no. So I'm also part of this Global Shapers Iloilo. That's how I got into the startup space here in Iloilo. When immediately when I went back home, actually in 2015, I found out that there was this event called Startup Weekend. And well, I knew about Startup Weekend. It's really a global hackathon. 3 days, you learn about how to create an idea, validate it with customers. Like you literally go out of the building, talk to customers, create a low fidelity prototype, and pitch it in 3 days. And you can go to Techstar Startup Weekend. This program has actually produced legit startups. And I was so happy that in 2015, Iloilo has one. And as a matter of fact, Iloilo ended up hosting at least 3 startup weekends, which is huge because this has access to the global network of startups as well. In I think it was around 2017 when our Global Shapers group, so we're a nonprofit that is part of the World Economic Forum. So it's the youth community, so to speak, of the World Economic Forum. I'm actually an alumna already because you have to be in your 20s to be a global shaper. So, but in 2017, we launched this program called ILO Innovation with the LIPO office of the city. And it was a hackathon, kind of like Startup Weekend, to solve DRRM, disaster related solutions. And we had students from high school and college teams participate. It was really interesting. That eventually led to a program next year. And this is where we had like Miss Leia of the Iloilo Business Club join us to have this roundtable called Ocean. Ocean stands for Open Collaboration for East Asia Champions, because this is actually a World Economic Forum spin-off. Parang I think it was we had a Global Shapers or World Economic Forum event in Manila, and one of the organizers wanted to create an event just for the Philippines. So this was what we did. We had it at Marriott, and this was our first time to really engage the business community, no? Because at the end of the day, we started as, startup kids who just wanted to do their thing. But at the end of the day, when we wanted to really help the ecosystem, at the end of the day, we needed the business community and the government. So we engaged them, and thankfully, the conversations really continued to the point that it led to the establishment of the Iloilo Startup Founder Circle. This was also launched a little shortly after that event. Right now, I can say we're actually in talks of incorporating this as an organization, as an association. So hopefully we would get that done so we could have a recognized entity for Iloilo startups. And finally, last year, Innovate Iloilo launched, and we had an event in Innovate Iloilo, which was the Ilo Innovation Investment Forum. I believe Daily Guardian was also our partner then, really helpful to promote investments for startups specifically. So in the roadmap, and I could probably leave later in our chat, and we have this roadmap report, which is actually a draft, no? And since our focus is the strong startup ecosystem, one of the 7 pillars, these are the objectives that were identified in the roadmap. So improving ICT, definitely, although this is part of the government, no, but we definitely want to help with being the voice, because especially in this pandemic, we're all very reliant on ICT. Improving the business ecosystem. That's why we're so thrilled to be invited to this, because these are some of the rare chances to really engage with the business community. Because at the end of the day, we want to start up, and we all know ease of doing business is really a challenge in this country. So compared to Singapore, our friends in Singapore, they can do a startup in like less than a day. and they don't even have to leave their offices. There's just this app that they can just chat what are the documents, and they can establish a business in a day or three, and that's it. That's how easy it is. So talagang sana all. Sana yung Iloilo mo man, but that's hopefully, I mean, kaya tayo nangangarap, di ba? So that's the plan, that's the goal. Of course, GIA, Government Industry Academe, is very important. We have a lot of TBIs. TBIs means Tech Business Incubators. So right now we have at least 5. That's in West, CPU. UPV has 2 in the City Campus and the Miagao Campus. And ESAT-U is about to launch their own. So these are mostly funded by the Department of Science and Technology. Of course, intellectual property is very important because, by the way, the Innovate Iloilo roadmap was aligned by the Global Innovation Index. We are in the top 50 now. The Philippines is actually in the top 50 of the Innovation Index. So it's really good, but there's still more to be done. Part of the score in the Innovation Index is the number of patents produced. So IP is definitely important. And of course, investment. So when we say the deal flow of startups, we really, actually in our roundtables with startup entrepreneurs, this was the biggest need. Funds at the end of the day, and especially funds for early stage ventures. And those are obviously the more risky ones. But that's why there's a certain type of investor called an angel investor that we're hoping to have here in Iloilo to have those early stage venture investment. So interestingly, the DICT and a startup innovation hub called Kubo, QBO, it really just means Bahay Kubo. It doesn't stand for anything else, but they are actually the National Innovation Hub. It was established by a public-private partnership with DOST, DTI, and I think JP Morgan and other private entities. So they're based in Manila, but they are actually the ones doing the whole Philippine startup ecosystem, and one of the organizers, if not the main organizer of Philippine Startup Week. And they have patterned the ranking of a startup ecosystem based on this framework. So this is from the Techstars group. This is the same group that developed Startup Weekend. So it amo niya mga components para ma-erect the startup ecosystem. So talent, density, culture, capital, regulatory environment. So talent, obviously people. Density, it's like they would describe it as if you're in Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, if you go to any cafe, the chances of seeing a startup founder or an entrepreneur or a venture funder in that cafe is high because there's a lot of density. And I don't know sa mga nagatanaw, this ang K-drama nga startup. You might be watching that because actually that K-drama has made our lives very easy. Okay, though we don't need to explain it anymore. Basically, we're trying to build the sandbox, if you know what I mean. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you could download Netflix and watch it. It's really nice and it's very accurate, actually. That is basically how we do things in startups. We have hackathons, and when hackathons come, they have incubation, and we match them with funders, and hopefully they become an established business. So in 2018, the DICT and the Kubo Innovation Hub did a startup ecosystem scoring for Iloilo. And as you can see, we were ranked as foundational. So this is actually level 2 of 7. Level 1 is nascent, meaning parang baby pa lang. So level 2 is foundational. Level 3 is accelerating. I think, but as long as the last level is high growth, tipong Silicon Valley or Israel or South Korea. But that's the good news is at least we're in level 2. And we actually did the ecosystem mapping for 2020, and Kubo will release the results in December. I also don't know what the results are, but we're hoping we kind of leveled up na. Kay may ibanda na score. Kay subong density is nascent. But sometimes they count density as the number of co-working spaces. And obviously, there are a lot of co-working spaces here now in Iloilo. So hopefully nag-rise ang score ta. So we're hoping the score might be at least level 3 na. But hopefully the goal is maging level, high potential. If you're interested to learn more, the link is there, DICT.gov, local startup mapping. So one of the things again is the capital, no? As you can see, capital is the lowest score, and perhaps this is a open invitation to the business community to have a conversation about how we can increase the flow of capital, especially for startups. So these are some of the startups that we have been in touch with, and actually damo pa ni, but we highlighted some that really emerged in this pandemic, no, in COVID-19. So first we have Bakal Lokal. These are actually the guys behind Producto Lokal. They have received ₱1 million grant at least from DOST to establish the e-commerce site. So actually, if you go to, I think, bakallocal.com or .ph, you could do a Google search, but they're really the e-commerce platform for MSMEs, especially those that have been supported by DOST. Kasi may mga food startups sa DOST na ginasupport, ginahatagan grants. Panublix, actually, I'm part of the startup. This is for the Ilonggos, obviously, this comes from the word panublion, which means heritage, and has an X to it. This is actually a textile startup. So we are hoping to revive the crown of Iloilo as the textile capital of the Philippines, because there's also a lot of investment here, lalo na si Philippine Textile Research Institute, which is a DOST institute. In Miagao, they invested in a yarn production center. And there's a lot of talk about sustainability, the trends of local shoring or local supply. How supply chains are disrupted, and now the time to go local is really there. And we're hoping to be this connector of the supply chain space, especially for the fashion and design industry, which is also reeling from the pandemic. Viqua Water Solutions is actually a disaster startup. I mean, they were created because of the disaster. So what they do is they are able to bring water access through a portable mobile solution. Like it's an actual machine that can be deployed in the typhoon-stricken areas. So they are also an incubatee of one of our incubators in West Visayas State. They have now operations in Aklan and Iloilo, and they have won awards like the One Young World Award. And actually, you'll be hearing more of them if you attend our event on on Friday. I mean, so Bakalocal, Panublix, and Vico will be there, and the others are actually logistics startups. So yeah, so I mean, perhaps the Grab would know this, right? Because like there's a lot of logistics providers now coming in, so that kind of made the friction of adoption a little easier, I think, for both parties. Because really, there have been a fountain of logistics startups, which is indicative of the current consumer behavior now, no, of e-commerce. So really interesting initiatives. So this is towards the end of my presentation. As mentioned, we have an official event in line with Startup Week. So register at phstartupweek.com. It's gonna be on Attendify, and you can actually watch it at your own free time. Kay do asynchronous pa ni siya, kay actually na pre-record na siya. And you'd be hearing more about the startup ecosystem also of Iloilo. So sometimes it's so highfalutin, no, to think about innovation, startups, but sometimes I just tell people, at the end of the day, just think about the kids. So like think of 10-year-old kids right now, Maya and Andres. So in 2030, they would be 20 years old. So hopefully the ecosystem that we create would be conducive for the dreams of Maya and Andres. Like si Maya, gusto niya maging biotech startup. Kaya tungkol na-inspire siya sa COVID, she wants to help with drug discovery. And by the way, biotech startup is a very lucrative category now for venture investments. Andres wants to get into packaging engineering because he cares about solving the plastic problem. So I think it's not impossible for Iloilo to be a nurture of the dreams of these kids. So hopefully we can do that. So salamat Gid, that ends my presentation. These are my details, and looking forward to continue the conversation.
Thank you so much, Miss Noreen. That was one a short description, or not really, probably a short description, a full blast of what is startup all about. Thank you so much. And yes, I was part of Startup Weekend in Cebu actually, way back 2013. That was one of the tiring and draining weekend I ever had. So it's really really very good. Mr. Rin, can we have a question for you?
Sure, go for it.
Sige. Since we're talking about startup, how can startup helps MSMEs improve business, the current business they have in operation at this time of pandemic? How they can partner with you?
Oh, thank you for the question. I think common gid ang theme red no nga digitization, and that's something that
Yes,
tech
digital
startups.
transformation.
Correct. And I think that's something that the tech startups particularly are focused on. I can speak for Panublix of our startup. What we do is we try to get our weavers. So I'm actually working directly with our weavers. And right now we're doing the process na mano-mano. Okay, we just started. But the hope is we're able to really digitize their operation. We're happy to say that because kay right now they can actually chat na sa messenger kay biskan ara sila sa bukid at may usapan kahit
Yes.
paano, so that's a good thing, but napadasig actually ang transaction tungod sa digital. So that's one thing that I think our startups can help MSMEs and vice versa man.
Yes, yes, that's very good. Digital transformation is a must currently right now for even a small or micro business lang din. So, as you mentioned, I was really surprised before when I heard this that there's a startup or innovation act na GIDYA for the Philippines, which is very good to hear about it. But currently, I'm hearing the startup act or the innovation act, Miss Noreen. Another question, what are the current pagit nga challenges of startups probably in Iloilo, and how are they coping right now with the pandemic?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. Actually, gin pamangkot man isang nag-ecosystem mapping isang ligad. So, actually, when the report is out, we'll probably put it in the Innovate Iloilo Facebook. Okay, we're also part of that group with Miss Leia Lara. But the innovation ecosystem or the startup ecosystem map for Iloilo, part of the report, it was discussed anong mga challenges. And obviously, the biggest challenge is really the access to finance. I think even not just for startups, but even for MSMEs. But also, I think the mentorship also would be a crucial need.
Yes.
Lalo na kay at the end of the day, a startup is a business, or at least should be a business. So we need solid business fundamentals, and that's something we can really learn from the business gurus here, especially in Iloilo. So hopefully, mentorship and access to finance.
That's really true. And you mentioned earlier the startup Netflix film episode or series. That's really good, actually. That's really good on how Haiti started and what they're going through for a startup. That's a really good information as well. Miss Noreen, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank
So
you.
maybe we have request for a parting message before everything, before we leave you up.
Okay. Well, visit our peachstartupweek.com event. We're really excited for startups. I mean, although COVID-19 has been very a terrible thing, but for those startups that have focused on addressing the pain point, it has actually been a very productive year. And I'm not saying that to discount all the bad things that COVID-19 did, but it's just that innovate or die is what they say. And we have to always adapt. And right now, I think startups, tech startups especially, it's a great time to start one, especially here in Iloilo.
Thank you so much, Miss Noreen. Thank you so
Sounds
much for
good.
being with us this afternoon. To those our viewers, listeners, and followers, if you have any additional questions, some concerns, or intriguing ideas, or you would like to connect directly with our two awesome speakers, you can either reach out directly using their contact information they posted on their specific slides, or you can reach out via their Facebook pages and or through LinkedIn. Surely they would love to hear from all of you. This ends our session, and we hope you enjoyed another session filled with information and inspiration here at Iloilo Business Online, brought to you by Iloilo Business Club, which is powered, of course, by our ever reliable and transparent news partner in Iloilo, the Daily Guardian. Once again, in behalf of the whole staff, crew management of IBO, I am Red Heshanova of Intellicare. Shout out to my colleagues and bosses watching right now, saying madamo gid nga salamat, and see you again in the next episodes. Stay well and healthy always.